Java class and how to declare a method. Please raise your hands if you want me to repeat about Java class. Please raise your hands. Okay, I'll be showing you one program and then I'll be explaining you what class is and what method is. One example, let us do. Then we'll move to inheritance concept. So I'll be sharing my screen 1 second. So, okay. First thing is we have to declare a Java class and whatever code we want to write, we have to write in the class only. You have to enclose all the logic that we want to implement using Java program within a class only. So I'm declaring one class and I'm naming that class as example1. Okay. While you are executing, file already exists. Okay. Whatever you want to implement, you have to enclose it within a class only. Okay. And a Java program can contain any number of classes. A Java program can contain any number of classes. Okay. And whatever you are seeing on the screen now is the default block which is mandatory to execute any Java program. Okay. So how many classes do we have in this program now? How many
One class.
class do we have in this program now? One class. How can you identify whether it is a class or not? Whether it is a Java class or not? How does the Java compiler recognize that you have declared or defined a class? We have a keyword right here, public class, class example. When you give this keyword class, Java compiler will understand that programmer defining a class. Okay. After class, we'll be giving the class name. Here the class name is class example. And whatever you want to implement, whatever you want to invoke, you have to create an object in the main class. I repeat, whatever the logic you want to write, it must be enclosed within a Java class. Okay, Java class. A Java program can contain any number of classes. Java program can contain any number of classes. Class is a collection of fields and methods. Okay, fields, nothing but they state the variables. Whereas methods, they define the action, whatever the implementation you want to do, whatever the logic you want to do, whatever the operation you want to perform, that you have to enclose within the method. So here I'm taking two classes, defining another class. Whenever you want to define any class, you have to use the keyword class, all small letters. Class, okay, class, any name. Hello world. It should contain open bracket and close bracket. So whatever you write within this braces will be the body of the class, will be the content of that class. Class can contain variables and methods. So I'm declaring variables A, comma B. Okay, these are fields or variables. Okay, class will contain two basic building blocks, that is fields, and the second thing is methods. Now I'm declaring a void multiplication. Okay, So void is the return type, multiplication is the method name. This is the syntax for defining any method. Return type, method name. You have to write the list of parameters. If you don't have any parameters, you can just enclose it within the braces. Okay. And whatever you write in between line number 15 and 17, we call it as method definition. We call it as method definition. So here I'll be writing a logic to perform multiplication of two numbers. I'm taking A as a 14 and B as 20. Okay. Now our method name is multiplication. I'm writing the logic to perform multiplication. So A equals to A into B. Okay. Multiplication will be performed with the content that we have in variable A and variable B. That is 14 into 20 will be done and the result will be stored in variable A. Okay. If you want to print any result on the console, then what we do, we write a statement system.out.println whatever the value you want to print, you can just write. Okay. So how many classes do we have in this program now? How many classes do we have in this program? How many classes do we have in this program? Yes. How many chapters we define in the program? Program. Can you see the screen?
Ma'am, your voice is not audible properly.
How many classes do we have in this example, in this program class example? How many classes we defined?
2, ma'am.
What are the name of those classes?
Class example and hello world.
Okay. Where do we have the main method? In which class we have the main method?
Hello world.
Main method. Where do we have
No,
the main method? In class example, we have public static void main. And in hello world, how many variables we initialized?
2 variables.
A and B. How many methods we have in class hello world? How many methods we have in this class hello world?
1.
What is the name of the method?
Multiplication.
Yes. So now we have variables and methods in the class hello world. But if we want to make use of these variables and methods, what we have defined in the class hello world, we have to create an object in the main method class. I repeat, a Java program can have any number of classes. A Java program can have any number of classes and each class can have any number of methods. Okay. But if we want to invoke the methods, okay, if we want to invoke the methods defined in any Java class, we have to create an object for the respective class in the main method class. I repeat, a Java program can have any number of classes, but if you want to make use of that classes, or if you want to call those classes, if you want to invoke whatever the methods you implemented in those classes, we have to create an object for the respective class in main method class. Here, hello world is the class where we have written some logic. But if you want to invoke this class hello world, we have to create an object in class example because main method is residing in the class example. So I'll be creating an object for this hello world class in main method class. Hello world, you have to write as it is. Hello world. Okay. And object name, you can write anything equals to new hello world and semicolon. This is how we create an object. Syntax is class name, object name equals to new class name. Class name, object name equals to new class name. This is the syntax to create an object. So using this object HW, you can invoke the methods whatever you have defined in the class hello world using dot operator. HW dot, I want to invoke this method multiplication. HW dot multiplication. HW dot multiplication. Whenever I use this HW dot multiplication, the Java compiler control will be given to the method multiplication defined in the class hello world. But you are invoking this class hello world by creating an object HW. HW dot multiplication means HW is an object of class hello world, and we have to call the method with the name multiplication. Okay. Whenever this state is seen, HW dot multiplication, the multiplication method in hello world class will be invoked, and whatever the logic you write inside that method will be executed. Okay, what did we write? A equals to A into B. Okay, A equals to A into B will be executed, and the compiler will check if there is any syntax mistake, if any statement is missing, if the variable is declared or not. Okay, all the syntax errors will be examined whenever you are executing it. Okay, next statement we have given to print the value of A. Okay, value of A will be printed. Again, the control will be given to line number 9. That means multiplication method execution is finished. So the control is again given to the main method class. We don't have any statements after HW dot multiplication. So it will be the final output from the program whatever we have written. So I'll be executing it. Let us see the output. See, 280 is the output. Okay. Now if I want to write, see here in the output we have got only 280. Okay. But if you want to specify the multiplication is 280 or the product is 280, if you want to write, if you want to get the result in that way, what should we do? I want to display the result as the multiplication is 280. Then what should I do?
Change the output statement.
Okay, we need to change the output statement. Okay, and I have to enclose any string in the print statement within the double quotes. The product is, then I want to concatenate this string, the product is, and the value of A. So in Java, to concatenate two strings, we have a symbol A plus A. Okay, now I'll be running the program. We'll get the output as the product is 280. So now, is it clear how to create a class and how to create an object?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, everyone. Roll number 43. Roll number 43, is it clear? So now, till now we have discussed how to create a class, how to create an object, and how to invoke any method from the main method class. Okay, now I'll be asking you a simple question. Listen and answer. Okay. Okay, I have two classes. I have two classes with the name addition and subtraction. with the name addition and subtraction. In the addition class, I have a method sum. In the subtraction class, I have defined some method minus. Okay. And main method class name is DCCAB. Main method class name is DCCAB. If I want to invoke add method, if I want to invoke some method from addition class, what should I do? See, I'll be writing the question more clearly. Okay. See, I have three classes. One is a class DCC AB, and I have written something within this class. Okay. Then main method is in this class. Main method. Okay. Then I have declared another class. Class addition. Okay. Within this class, I have defined a method add. And I have written the logic to perform addition also. I have written the logic to perform addition. Then I have defined another class with the name class subtraction. Class subtract. Okay. And within this class, I have declared a method. Method name is void minus. Okay. So now I have a program like this. Class DCC AB is one class. Class addition is the second class. Three classes now. Inside method add, and inside that class I have a method and minus method. For that, how can we invoke methods add and minus?
Creating objects in the main method.
Okay. What is syntax to create an object in the main method?
Class name, object name is equals to new class name.
Okay, then how can we call the method add? We have created an object. How can we call the method add? Using dot operator, you have to use the object name dot method name. For example, if you have created object name as obj dot method name is add. Then I have created an object for subtraction class sb dot whatever the method you have in subtraction class. Okay, now is it clear how to declare a class, how to declare a method, how to invoke method in a Java class?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay,
Clear, ma'am.
now we'll be discussing method overloading. You know what method is, how to declare a method, how to define a method. Let us see what method overloading is. One second. All these are important for your practical exam, for your semester exam, and for your viva also. These are important concepts to do any programming. One second. So I'll be sharing the screen now. You have to tell how many methods are there, what are the method names, and what is meant by method overloading. First, I'll be revising what method overloading is. Okay. For example, if we want to use the same method and we want to change the parameter that we pass uh, method and we want to perform different action with different values with different data, we want to use the same method, then we can use the concept of method overloading. Okay, if you want to use the same method name, if you want to perform, for example, the same operation, addition operation, using integer values, using floating values, or you may have an input of one integer and one float variable. Okay, if you want to execute such cases, okay, same function, if you want to execute in different ways, then you can go for method overloading. Okay, or you can use it to display the result of a student. For example, some student may write the exam for only 2 exams, some for 3 exams. Okay, value of the marks can be integer, value of the marks can be float. If you have different data, but if you want to perform the same function or the same operation, then we can go for method overloading. Method name will be same, return type will be same. Okay, method name will be same, return type will be same, and the number of parameters can be changed, or you can change the return type with the same method. Method overloading can be achieved in 2 ways. Let us see the first one. So here, what are the different methods we have? Can you all see the program on the screen? Yes, ma. Can you all see the? Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah. What is the class name here?
Method overload.
Method overload. How many methods do we have in this class?
4, ma'am.
4. And what is the name of method?
Test.
Okay. Here test is the method which we are trying to overload, which we are trying to execute in different ways. Okay. Test with 0 parameters we have. Test with 1 integer parameter we have. Test method with 2 integer parameters we have. Test method with 1 integer variable and 1 double variable we have. See, it means here we are trying to use the same method, same logic using different types of data. Okay, in such cases we can go for method overloading concept. Here test is the method which is acting in different ways when you are passing different parameters. Okay, 4. First method, no parameters, 1 parameter, 2 parameters, and then the fourth method we have 1 integer parameter and the double parameter. Okay, so now the method name is same. Okay, if you want to invoke these methods, we have to create an object in the main method class. But how does the Java compiler recognize which test method you are calling? Okay, we have 4 test methods. We have the same return type, but it is varying with the number of parameters. So how will the Java compiler recognize which test method you are calling from main method? How will it recognize? Do you have any idea? I repeat, here we have 2 classes, method overload. Okay, we have only one class, method overload. In that we have 4 methods with the same method name, that is test, but they differ with the number of parameters. Okay, if we want to invoke any method in a Java program, we have to create an object for the respective class. Okay, we have to create an object for the respective class. Okay, this is the syntax. The last line that you're seeing on the screen is the syntax to create an object for a Java class. Yes or no? Now I have created a object for the class method overload. Class name is method overload. Object name is m equals to new method overload. Using this instance M, you can invoke the classes, but how will the compiler know which test method you are calling? Which test method you are calling? See here, m.test, m.test you are calling, and you are not passing any parameters. The first line you can see, you can check. M.test you are calling, and you are not using any parameters here. Here we are not passing any parameters. Then the compiler will understand that I have to call the method named test from method overload class, which is having no parameters. Then I am calling m.test10. Now the compiler will understand I need to invoke the method with the name test from method overload class, which is having one integer parameter. Then m.test 10, 20.25. Then the compiler will understand we need to invoke the method with the name test from the class method overload, which is having one integer parameter and one double parameters. Then when this line is executed, compiler will invoke a method which can accept two integer parameters. Okay, this is method overloading. Is it clear, ma? Method overloading.
Yes, ma'am.
Yes. Yes. So can you write method overload program to perform two float numbers, one float, one integer? I want you to write a Java program for addition to perform addition using loading concept. You have three methods with the same name where you can pass two integer parameters in one method, two float parameters in second method, and one integer and one float variable in the third method. I'll post this question in the chat box. You have to write the program in a paper and post it. See, the question is posted in the chat box. You can go through it, write the answer, and post the answer. Okay, write the Java program for performing addition of two integers, two floating numbers, and the third one is one integer and one double number using method overloading concept. This is an assignment for you. You have to show it in the next class. I'll be calling your numbers randomly. You have to present it. You have to write it in a paper and you have to present it whenever I ask. Okay, now we have seen the method overloading. Then we'll go through the next concept is the constructor overloading. So before going to discuss a constructor overloading, let us see what is meant by constructor. Okay, what is meant by constructor? Why do we use constructors? Okay. Constructors in Java are special type of methods. Constructors in Java are special type of methods which possess the method name same as the class name. Okay, in the previous examples when we were discussing about the method definitions and method declarations in a Java class, we are using different name for a class and different name for a method. Whereas constructors are used to initialize the objects directly, implicitly. You need not create an object. You need not call the method. You need not invoke the method with the object name when you are using constructors. They are invoked implicitly when you create an object. Is a Java and Java method name. If both are same, the method as a constructor. In let's see what is meant by implicitly initial objects. So you type we use the read type while declaring a method in the previous example. Did we use while declaring a method? First, we're discussing about the class, program, and method overloading program. Did we did we use a read and type for method declaration? Yes or no?
Ma'am, your voice is breaking, ma'am.
Previous example, while we were declaring a method, did a clear now? Yes, class is clear now? Hello. Roll number 10, 32, 78. Is my voice clear now?
No, ma'am.
No, ma'am.
Because of some problem. This. Posting my question in this box. Look, you can answer. Okay.
Yeah.
Question posted in the chat box. You in the previous example.
No, ma'am.
In the previous method overload. We use the written type. I'll show you. See here. The method in class. In level class. What is the name of the method in this example hello world class?
Multiplication.
Can you hear me? Huh?
Multiplication.
Multiplication. So do we have same name for the method name and class name?
No, ma'am.
Class name is hello world and
Hello world.
method name is multiplication. Both are not same. So here multiplication is a normal method which is having a return type. Here we have the return type void. Okay, void is a return type. Likewise, you can use any return type, integer, float, okay, according to the data that you are obtaining from the method. Okay, here we are not returning any value. That is why we are using void. That means the method will not return any value. Okay, multiplication. But here we are using a return type. Return type is void. Okay, a method should contain a return type. A normal method should contain a return type. Here the return type is void. And here the class name and method name are not same. So multiplication method is a normal method but not a constructor. Okay. But if the class name and the method that you define inside the class, the method name and the class name, if both are same, then we call that method as a constructor. And constructor will not have any return type. Even void will be not there for a constructor. Let us see. See, constructors will not return any value. So we do not specify a return type, not even void. Okay. There will be no for a method which is a constructor. When can you call a method as a constructor? When can we call a method as a constructor? When can we call a method as a constructor?
When it has the same name as a class.
Yeah. Here in the example, we have a class my demo. My demo is a class. See here, my demo is a class and scope of the class is from here till here. Okay. Then we have a method my demo. Okay. Same name as the class name. The method name and the class name both are same. And this method is not having any return type. Void, int, float, we do not have any return type for this method. Then you can call this method as a constructor. Okay, you can call this method as a constructor. What is the difference between a normal method and a constructor? What is the difference between a normal method and a constructor? See, the constructor can be invoked implicitly. Constructor can be invoked. Usually in the previous example, if we want to invoke any method, within a class, what we are doing, we are creating an object. Okay, we are creating an object, and the second step is we are using the dot operator. Object dot whatever the name of the method we have within that class, we are using the method name. Object name dot method name we are using to invoke any method defined within the class. But constructor concept, this line is not required. Whenever you create an object for the constructor, whenever you create an object for the class, the constructor will be invoked automatically. You need not invoke the constructor explicitly. I repeat. See, if a method is a normal method, if it is not a constructor, what we do? We define the method within the class, and in the main method class, we'll be creating an object for that class, and using object name dot method name, we will be invoking the respective method within the class. But if it is a constructor, method is a constructor, then you need not invoke it using object reference. It will be invoked implicitly. That is the difference. That is the benefit of using the constructors. We'll be seeing another example of a constructor. So like method overload, you can attempt overloading also. What do you mean by the concept of overloading? A method can have the same method name, but number of parameters will differ. So the same thing with constructor. A constructor with a different number of parameters, we can call it as constructor overloading. So let us see. Constructors can be overloaded in a class. Okay, and it depends upon the number of parameters we pass. And we need not invoke the constructor with the object reference. They can be called implicitly. Let us see an example program so that it will be clear about the concept of the constructor. So now you have to tell me what name of class in this example. What is the name of the example? What is the name of the class in this example?
Demo.
See, you the program, a constructor program. Loading example program, I'm showing you on the screen. You have seen, can you see something called class a rectangle on the screen?
Yes, ma'am.
What is the name of the class in this program?
Rectangle 2.
Rectangle. Why are we saying that rectangle 2 is a class? How Java compiler recognize that it is a class?
Class keyword, ma'am.
Class keyword is given, so the Java compiler will understand that user is creating a class. Okay, then how many methods do we have in this class? How many methods do we have in
4,
this
ma'am.
class?
4.
4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, are there normal
Four
methods or
methods.
constructors?
Constructors, ma'am.
Why are we calling those methods as constructors?
Same name as the class name, ma'am.
Constructors? Right.
My voice is not clear, ma'am.
Do we have a return type for these constructors?
No, ma'am. No return type for
No
construct.
return type. Yeah, there is no return type in this program for any method, and the method name is same as the class name. So we can say that these methods are constructors. Okay. So if we want to make use of these constructors, if we want to invoke these constructors, what should we do? We have to create an object. We have to create an object for this class rectangle 2. We have to create an object for this class rectangle 2. Okay. Rectangle 2 r equals to new rectangle 2. Okay, whenever I use this statement, rectangle r equals to new rectangle 2, class name, object name equals to new class name. This r is the reference object which will invoke a constructor which is not having any parameters, Okay. Then I have another statement, rectangle 2 R1 equals to new rectangle of 5. Okay. This indicates you have to invoke a constructor which can accept one integer parameter. Okay. R2 will invoke a constructor which can accept 2 integer parameters. Then R3, write it as R3 or any other object name. R3 will invoke a constructor which is having an integer and a double variable. See, this is different. The way you invoke the methods and the way you invoke if you are using constructors is different. What we do if it is a normal class and if it is having 2-3 methods, we'll be creating one reference object, and using that reference object with a dot operator, we can invoke any number of methods. But if it is a constructor, you will be creating an object and you will be passing the parameters at the time of object creation only. And by looking at that parameter list, the respective constructor will be invoked. Okay, this we call it as a constructor overload. Okay, and see the introduction to method overloading we discussed. Do you mean by inheritance as it is paid to anyone? Answer, what is inheritance? What is meant by inheritance? What is meant by inheritance? Let's finish all these topics in next 2 or 3 days and we'll start unit 5. Please respond quickly. What is meant by inheritance? What is meant by inheritance?
A class acquiring the properties of other.
From the class, what is a class? Of another class, we can call it as inheritance. Okay, how many types of inheritance we discussed? How many types of inheritance we discussed? Single
types, ma'am.
inheritance, single inheritance, a multi-level inheritance, a multiple inheritance, hierarchical inheritance, and hybrid inheritance. Say single inheritance, there will be only one super class and one base class, and only one derived class and one base class. Derived class will acquire the. Then multiple inheritance is nothing but child class acquiring the properties from more than parent class. If a child class is from more than one parent class, then we call it a multiple inheritance, and it is noted in Java using classes concept. Multi-level inheritance is like parent child relationship at multiple levels. Property base and from I'll be showing one diagram. See, like this: X, Y, Z, W. Y can acquire properties from X. Z can acquire properties from X and Y. W can acquire properties from X, Y, and Z. Then we call it as multi-level inheritance. Then we have hierarchical inheritance, which is opposite to multiple inheritance. In multiple inheritance, we'll be having a single child class and more than one parent class. Whereas in hierarchical inheritance, there is one parent class and more than one child class. And a hybrid inheritance, combination of any two types of inheritance, we call it as hybrid inheritance. So you go through the programs in the inheritance concept and write a program for method overloading, which I'll be asking in the next class. I'll be randomly calling your roll numbers and you have to show whatever you have written in your notes. I'll be taking your attendance. Once I finish taking your attendance, you can leave the class.